All right, hello.
Hi all.
Hi all. Not sure if we are already live and if you can all hear us and see us and if everything is working well.
Yeah, it's the first one for us for this kind of online presentation this way, and it's super cool. If you could maybe let us know if you can see us well and hear us well, and you can just write in the chat and everything. Oh, great! Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
So I guess we can start with our presentation now.
Yeah. Thank you very much all for joining. Give us just a couple seconds. We'll share the presentation, and then we'll start with that. So just a second. Okay.
Okay, great. So right now we cannot really see ourselves, or we cannot see your comments at the moment. But we will be going now through that presentation, which is called Coronavirus and Immigration, and how to arrange your visa and relocation during the pandemic. Yeah, so, and then after the presentation, we're going to have short questions and answers. So make sure if you have any questions during the presentation, just write them down in the Q&A section, which you can see, I think, on your right. Write it right away so you don't forget, and then we'll get it to it in around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I guess.
We'll go first through the presentation. We'll tell you everything we know. And if you have any questions to that, there will be time after the end of the presentation to answer all your questions. We'll always read the question and then we'll answer it live like this.
Yeah.
So let's start.
Great. So again, welcome again. So just to introduce ourselves properly at this moment, my name is Daria, this is Jan, and we are the co-founders and owners of Move to Prague and Move to Brno Relocation Experts. We've been working almost 10 years now in the market of relocation and visa related services. And we are really excited that you join us on this event, that you join us on other live events. And this is something we do. We really like to useful information with some updates, especially now. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. If you ever need anything from visa perspective or anything, if you have any questions, again, write in the Q&A section.
Yep. Just to back up about where we get the knowledge, as Daria mentioned, we've been in the business of relocation for almost 10 years, which means that we deal with all types of visas, and long-term visas and long-term residence permits. We don't really deal with short-term ones. So we deal a lot with embassies, with the Ministry of the Interior here in Brno and other cities. We also help with finding accommodation and arranging health insurance, and basically whatever you might need if you move into the Czech Republic as a foreigner, or if you are a company wanting to hire people from either EU or from outside of the EU. So we provide consultancy and other services in all those fields. So we've been we are in touch with the Ministry of the Interior and with embassies basically every day. So hopefully this information will be a good combination of theoretical knowledge of what you can find online on the websites of the Ministry of the Interior and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other expertise and everyday experience in those offices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So basically what we're going to cover today. If you join this presentation, I don't exactly know why, but you probably either want to relocate to the Czech Republic and you want to find out whether it's possible to do that now during the Corona times, or you're already here and you need to solve some immigration issue and you don't know exactly how it's working out, or you want to invite some family member to visit you. We will try to cover all of this. We'll try not to do it, slow. We'll try to give it some drive anyway. Anyway, what we're going to cover today, first is the coronavirus in Czechia, just general information on how we are now, what's going on. Please take it with a pinch of salt, because we're not medics, we're not working in healthcare. We'll just tell you what we know and what is generally in the news. So you'll know a little bit if you're not here, so you know what's going on. Second thing is visa types and residency. It's important. It's going to be just very shortly. It's important to understand exactly how the visa and residency works. So you know whether you can apply for certain types of visa residency now or not. So it's going to be very briefly, just
Yep.
make some introduction to the visa section. The third is going to be about the embassies and the Ministry of Interior. The shortcut for MOI is Ministry of Interior. This is the authority that issues residency visas here in the Czech Republic. We will cover which embassies are open, what they exactly do, what their agenda is right now, and as for the ministry, if they are proceeding with applications, if they're taking new applications, how long it lasts, all of this. The fourth point going to be invitation for unmarried couples. So maybe if you heard about it, if you have a Czech partner or you are Czech or European Union citizen with the residency here, you can invite your unmarried partner who you haven't married
yet.
Yes. It's not only for spouses, it's also for unmarried couples, and we'll tell you briefly about it. It's mostly for people from third countries who have 90 days free stay in Schengen area. We will tell you more about that in case you want to invite someone or get invited. And the last point is, if you already want to enter, you're about to enter the Czech Republic, are you from the safe country, and what you need to do, what are your requirements, what you need to do in order to enter exactly that, the first 72 hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and because Daria didn't really talk much now, she'll tell you more about the coronavirus situation in the Czech Republic now.
Yeah, very briefly, unfortunately, again, we cannot really see your comments, but please drop us some comments to the chat. If you're already here in the Czech Republic, or if you're outside, if you know something about it, just really briefly, of course, the main concern of everybody is how many cases are there now active, how many deaths. So total cases in the Czech Republic from the beginning of the pandemic is 65,883 cases. Newly today, 1,287. For the last few days, it's been even almost 3,000 cases, and there were a total of 618 deaths from the beginning of the pandemic. We are quite positive, Jan and I. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, it's awful. A lot of people are getting sick, but if you compare the number of people that are in hospitals right now compared to all total cases, I don't think it's that brutal or that bad. Hopefully it's going to improve soon. Of course, numbers are rising and everybody is concerned about it. We really hope it's going to improve soon. Nothing we can do about that. We just have to wear masks and avoid social interactions for a while now. And when we do it, it's going to be, we're all gonna manage that.
Yep.
And just very shortly about that. Also, if probably you might have heard, if you live here, there is a new Minister of Health in the Czech Republic from last week. And he's known to be a tough guy. So he already introduced a few measures now to prevent the spreading of the virus. And also he is about to introduce new ones. So one of those measures is that you have to wear masks in public transports, in shops, in offices, anywhere you are inside. We're not wearing masks right now because it's just us two here. But of course, when if there's an office where people come in, you have to wear masks.
Yeah.
Also, if in the office, if you work, you have to secure some kind of distance from your coworkers. Otherwise, you also have to wear masks. So this is all about the masks.
Yeah.
Basically, the only place you don't have to wear masks right now is outside. Then the total amount of people gathering together, it's also been restricted. It's not official yet. The last time I think it was restricted officially. I think it was up to 500 people. Now during the weekend, he was talking about restricting it to 10 to 50 people at once. It's not official yet. His will also talk about it, I think, this week too, depending on the cases and everything. We'll see. Another restriction from last week is restaurants and bars are to close after 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And another one, for example, is that the schools, the universities are closed, and they're also considering closing the high school too.
Yeah, they've been also discussing how introducing the state of emergency again. That's not approved for sure yet. Hopefully, that should not mean the same situation as in March, that they would also be closing borders and restaurants and everything completely. It just allows government to approve some significant laws faster and do some things they would not be allowed to do that quickly under normal circumstances. So hopefully they will not start like the status of emergency or state of emergency. But even if they do, they promise that it should not affect the economy and businesses that much as before. So hopefully we are positive about that as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are scared. There's all in the news that he will introduce a new state of emergency, and people think it's the same as lockdown. It's not, as Jan said. Yeah, the state of emergency just basically allows the government make faster decisions that don't need to go through like a lot of authorities. Yeah, he actually said that he doesn't want to shut down the economy because what happened here in March and April, it was terrible. I think especially terrible for the economy. So I don't think he's gonna let it happen again. But I think there're gonna be some more restrictions.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so this is very briefly. So now we'll just talk. Now you know this, and you know what's going on. We will tell you more about what's going on with the immigration and everything connected to the coronavirus in Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm. So let's go there. Basically, what we will cover, I believe, on the next slide, when we talk about embassies and what applications they accept and what they don't accept. It's important to give you some like general background. So if you're already here, then and if you've been through the visa process and residency process and everything, you're probably kind of familiar with that. But for those of you who are not really familiar with that, I want to just give you like a short introduction to the visa processes, so you understand the next slide when we talk about the next point, where we talk about the embassies and what kind of agendas they deal with right now. So basically, there are two types of visas you can apply for in general. Short-term visas, which are meant for stays for up to 90 days. Which are usually meant for, I don't know, if you want to come here, if you don't have the visa-free stay and you want to come here, I don't know, to some concert or just a trip, like a tourist purpose, or if you want to visit some of your family members who already live in the Czech Republic, in that case, it's usually apply for a short-term visa for up to 90 days. That's something we don't really deal with. Because it's governed by different laws and responsibility of embassy, so it's slightly different. We mainly deal with the long-term options, which means that like all the types of visas or residence permits you're applying for if you want to stay here long-term. Officially longer than 90 days. Usually it's like for at least a year or even longer. So this is important to understand that there are short-term visas, which are only meant for short-term stays for up to 90 days, and long-term visas and long-term residence permit applications, which are meant for stays for longer than 90 days. Also, if you are applying for it applies to both short-term visas and long-term visas, but especially for long-term visas, if you're applying for a long-term visa or long-term residence permit, you always must have some official purpose of stay. Accepted or given by the Ministry of the Interior. These are the main purposes accepted by the Ministry of the Interior, work or employment. So if you find a job and you want to move here, then your purpose of stay would be employment or work. If you want to run your own business, or if you want to work as a freelancer, either as an English teacher or like IT specialist, or just someone you maybe want to open your shop or restaurant. In that case, you apply for a business visa or for a long-term visa with the purpose of business. Study purpose, that's meant for students. So if you want to study, for example, a university, accredited university, then you can apply for the student visa or residence permit. If you already have someone living here, like your spouse, your husband, your wife, or you are living here and you want to bring your kids for long term, not just to visit, but to live with you, then you can go for the family purpose of stay, family reunification also, scientific research, of course, if you're a researcher, there is also option for that. Temporary residence is meant for EU citizens and their family members. So if you are a couple where one of you is an EU citizen and the other one is non-EU citizen, then you would be applying not for a long-term visa, but for a temporary residence permit. And we'll actually cover this in one of the last slides.
Yeah.
Because there is an option for you to bring, if you're an EU citizen and you want to bring your partner who is non-EU citizen, because now it's a bit complicated because of the situation with COVID everywhere, then there is an option for you, and we'll discuss it more in the coming slides. If you don't have any, if you don't fall under any other category or under any of those we've discussed, you can try applying for so-called other purpose of stay, but then it's up to you to convince the ministry that your reason to stay is good enough. So that usually applies to students who study non-accredited courses, which means, for example, Czech language classes, because if you study Czech language, you don't fall under the official student purpose, so you would be applying for the other purpose. And now you'll find out why we were talking about this, because now we're getting to embassies and how they are open, what kind of agendas they accept now, because that's actually what plenty of people ask us, and plenty of inquiries are about this. Okay, I'm from this country, I want to move to the Czech Republic. Is it possible now? Can I apply for the visa? Can I apply somewhere else than in the country of my origin? So we'll cover all that now.
Yeah, so basically, if you are not in the Czech Republic right now, we'll first cover the embassies. So a lot of people ask us if they're now outside of the Czech Republic, can they apply for a visa during the pandemic, during these times? Yes, you can, but it depends whether the embassy you fall under takes the visa application. So basically, there are two groups of people normally in regards to these questions. First group of nationalities are those who can apply anywhere in the world. So basically, for example, Canadian, US citizens, Australians, New Zealand, Brazil,
Mexicans.
Also, yeah. So a lot of nationalities fall under this group. It means that these people can apply anywhere in the world, in any consular, in any embassy that has consular services, and actually can issue visas and can have appointments for visas. Not all embassies can. Sometimes you would see a Czech embassy, but they wouldn't do the visa and residency related agenda at all. Not only now, but at all. So you need to find a consular services of the Czech embassy. So. Yep.
Maybe just one example. Yeah. So for example, if you are an American and you want to apply for a long-term visa for the Czech Republic, you can either do it in the country of your origin, in the US, at some Czech embassy or consulate, or you can do it through any Czech embassy in the world. So you can go to Germany and apply there. You can go to Australia and apply there. Then there is the other group of nationalities which are only allowed to apply for the long-term visa in the country of their origin. So for example, if you are an Indian, you can only apply for a long-term visa in India, or in some cases in a country where you hold a long-term or permanent residence permit. So if you're, for example, an Indian permanently living in Saudi Arabia, you can apply there, either in India or in Saudi Arabia, but nowhere else.
Yeah, so basically back to the question whether you can apply for a visa residency right now during these times. Yes, you can, but you will need to see whether your embassy you belong to, in case you only can apply in that particular embassy, falls under that group, or if you can apply anywhere in the world, if that embassy you plan to apply at is fully open. So basically right now you can see in the presentations there are three categories of embassies. First one, the green one are embassies. Oh, sorry, it's vice versa. First one are embassies on the lockdown. So there's the red category you can see on the right. It means that the embassy is on total lockdown, doesn't work for anything, and it's due to the situation in the country where they are. So now in the list, there's only one country, which is Chile. There used to be more. And now there's only the only one, so hopefully they will not be added any new countries or any new embassies there. It means that you unfortunately cannot do anything there. It's just totally closed, like nothing, unfortunately. Then the second is our embassies open partially. This is the yellow column. What it means? It means that they are open, but not for all the agenda. It means that they do take these applications, but not for all the purposes of stay, how we discussed it before. That's why it's important why we brought up all the purposes of stay. Unfortunately, though, it seems that they are open for that. You can go, well, to find out more, you can go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, which is mzv.cz, and you can see exactly the agenda that they're open for. And unfortunately for everyone, the agenda they're not open for are business visas, employee cards, blue cards, and I think some kind of no, study is open.
Study is open.
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually the main purposes of stay we work with are employee cards and business visas, and those cannot be applied through those embassies, unfortunately.
But there you can apply. I think you can apply for the student visa there. You can apply for the family unification there, but not for employee cards or business visas. I think this is something people come in here in the most cases.
Yeah, you can also apply for short-term visas. That's why we also discussed that in the previous slide. So short-term visas, like the Schengen visas, which allow you to come here for a couple days or for up to 90 days. Those yellow or orange embassies accept those as well. So you can, in theory, apply for those. But from the long-term visas and long-term residence perspective, it's still kind of limited.
Yeah, there are more countries into that. Unfortunately, we couldn't fill. The majority of embassies belong into the yellow column. There's sort of a link there. Unfortunately, cannot click it. But you can go again. You can go to mzv.cz and switch to English. Go to visa residency, and you'll find it there. There'll be like a list of all the embassies that open. Or you can go. You can see on the green list. The last embassy that fully open, they work as usual, so that accept the visa applications, everything, they just work as normal. These are all the countries right now that are fully open. So you can see if you don't find your embassy in the green column, it's probably going to be in the yellow one.
Yeah. Maybe one important thing to mention as well is that even though the embassies are open, they still have some kind of like measures, which means that, for example, when you go there, you need to be wearing masked. They want you to they kind of limited the amount of people who can apply through the embassy, because they don't want people to meet there and like 20 people wait in the same waiting room. So they schedule the appointment. So they maybe don't have that many appointments available, but they are working fully and they accept all visa applications. So, but you just need to make sure that you book your appointment long enough in advance so that you have the chance to apply.
Okay, and now it belongs in the same category. The Ministry of Interior, it's in case you're already here. It's totally resumed, the work is totally resumed. Actually, they were working also during the lockdown. The only difference was that they didn't accept all the invitations, all the applications. You could send the majority of them by post. Now they're fully open, you can do anything there. Just make sure if you go to their website, go to contacts, and you will see under each Ministry of Interior office which applications you can file without an appointment. For example, one of the Ministry of Interior office in Prague only accepts application for the prolongation of whatever application you get, or like the first application of temporary residency, only prior to appointment. So you kind of just go there, wait in line, and just get it over with. So always check it first, but otherwise you have to wear masks, disinfect your hands. But the ministry so far works. There are no news yet, so hopefully it's going to continue this way.
Yeah, as Daria said, always check the website, because it's also different in other cities. Because in Prague, where we mainly operate, there's like one of the branches is fully open. You can go there in the morning and wait in the line and get seen even if you don't have an appointment. The other one does not really work this way, and they always prefer appointments. And in other cities, some cities we work with, they are still working only on appointment basis, so you cannot go there without a prior appointment. So it's always best to check before you go there, either directly with them or at least the website of the ministry, because they list all the information there.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, if you belong under the category that one of you, you're partners, you're dating each other, you're girlfriend, boyfriend, you're not married yet, and one of you is an EU citizen and one of you is non-EU citizen, it was kind of, or it's been kind of tough for such couples because they were usually separated by the lockdown and the travel restrictions. The standard case or most typical case now is, for example, like Czech citizen and US citizen, because US citizens are allowed to come here normally without any visa for up to 90 days. But now, because of the situation in the US, they are not allowed to enter the Schengen space. So basically that meant that if a Czech citizen or an EU citizen had a partner from the US, basically you had to stay separated for a couple months and you had no chance to visit because the Americans were not allowed, or they were still not allowed to come to the Czech Republic or to Schengen area without a visa at all. So the ministry kind of understood that after a couple months, and they introduced the option of inviting your partner from countries which have the exception of being able to come here for 90 days without a visa, but who are now not allowed to come because of the COVID restrictions. So they introduced the option of some kind of like invitation letter issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which allows such partners of Czech citizens to enter the Schengen space, even though they officially should not be allowed to do that.
Yeah, so basically how to do that, if you are Czech or European Union citizen with a temporary residency here, you go to the same website I told you before, it's mzv.cz. You go to that section, you have to download the affidavit, which you have to fill and sign. It's very, very easy to do. It does fill your information, your partner's information, and sign it. And then you have to also add all the documents confirming that you have a long-term relationship. Now they actually write there what they want you to send and what they don't want you to send. So what they want you to send is any birth certificates, if you have like a child together, for example, or a common lease agreement dated back date, like that you already lived here for some time before that. Then any travel bookings or reservations, plane tickets, because they like to see how people travel, all this stuff. And now they specifically tell people not to send photos or affidavits or proof accommodations or lease agreements starting with a new date. So they say it's not approved. Which, well, it's quite questionable in our I mean, like we're helping people with that tuna right now, and to be honest, it's quite questionable, but this is exactly their information. So if you go there, you also can find this information in English, or let us know and we'll send you a link where you can find it. And then these people they will send you a confirmation around 1 week that you and this person from the third country can enter the Czech Republic showing this confirmation.
Yep. So if you need any more information about that, let us know. We'll be happy to explain everything, send you the links, help you with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last one probably. So who can enter and how? So whether the traveling is still the same as it used to be. Here, what you can find is the simplified scheme for entry into Czechia. What you can find here. You can find countries, basically the divided countries on third country and European Union, and then into green and red zones. Basically what you see, and they also 3 columns, category according to the level of risk, same rules for the entry as before, and necessity to prove and the purpose of stay. So you can see from European Union countries, if they're on the green list, they can enter and they don't need to quarantine, they don't need to prove the purpose of stay, they don't need a test. But the red countries, you can either not enter at all, or you have to quarantine yourself or show the test. Now, for the green list, very short list, the one you can find under the table, then you can see it well right now. They're listed the countries, the low risk of COVID contagious, it's under the table we shared. And if the country is not on that list, it means that it's on the red zone. Now, there's another table for tourists, say. So basically, if you can enter as before, excuse me. Now, there's also one more table, which we cannot put here because you have to literally download it. Yeah. And it's updated every week. Also, again, if you go to Ministry of Interior website in the coronavirus section in entry, you will find it there. And basically what you need to do in case you are, for example, in a green or red zone, if you are allowed anyhow to enter here, you will need anyway to first, you probably will have a test in the airport. So this is the first thing. Second thing, you need to contact the hygienic station and tell them that you arrived and from where. And you also are obliged, in case you didn't have a test in the airport, within 72 hours to go and have a test. Or quarantine yourself, I think now for 10 days. They lowered from 14 days to 10 days.
Oh.
So this is very in general, because we could talk about it for ages and ages and ages. Yeah. Otherwise, it's basically a very simplified form of like if you can enter and from which circumstances. Conditions.
Yeah, it unfortunately changes very often, and it's kind of confusing. So if you have any questions about if you can enter or not, let us know. We'll be happy to try to help with that, or go to the Ministry of the Interior, and you can download the full table and you can try to go through that and find your exact situation.
Or contact your embassy, the Czech embassy in your country, and they will tell you if you can or not and what you have to do. This is probably the safest bet. But also always contact them like not longer than a week prior, because it can change.
Okay.
And here we are. So this was the end of our presentations. Now it's the time for questions and answers. I think we're exactly half an hour speaking. Thank you very much for joining. Now we'll go for the questions and our answers. We will close our presentations. Make sure to connect with us on the social media. We're on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website, movetoprague.com. We have a blog section where you can read everything you need to know about visas and residency, etc.
Yep. All right, so let's now close the presentation. And we already maybe have some questions here.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so Magnas Tehrani.
Yeah, we have a chat now, the questions and answers. In the category of questions and answers, we have no questions so far. Please put your questions there if you can. If you can click on questions and answers. Just click it there, please. And on the chat, we have one comment.
Yeah, I've been working on the Czech Academy of Science since August 2016, long-term residency permit for purpose of scientific research, non-EU and third country visa with 25V. I'm going to find job outside academia because the grant has been frozen from my working place and need to apply for work permit and consequently employee card. My visa will be expired December 31st. I would appreciate any information regarding that. Okay, so I would just need to double check if you can change the purpose of your stay from scientific research to employee card. In general, it's possible. I would just need to double check to make sure. And then in general, if you want to switch to the employee card, the first thing your new employer needs to do is to advertise the position with the labor office for at least, it's usually between 10 and 30 days, depending on the type of job you will be doing. So they need to advertise the position first, saying, okay, we plan on hiring foreigners. Then those 10 to 30 days are there as a so-called test of the labor market, which means that those 10 to 30 days are there for Czech citizens and EU citizens to possibly apply for the job. And only if no one takes the job from the EU or the Czech Republic, then the position gets a special number, and that's the number you need for your employee card application. So this is the first step. Find employer who already either has the job description done with the labor office or have the vacancy number already, or who is willing to help you with that and go through the process. Then basically once you have this number, you can go to the Ministry of the Interior and submit your application for the employee card. Basically the documents you need are the same as for most of the other visa types or residence types: application form, passport photos, proof of accommodation, then documents on the purpose of your stay. So in case of the employee card, that would be your employment contract plus the vacancy number, and that's basically it. You submit the application along with the 2,500 application fee paid in Kolky, in the revenue stamps, and then you wait. Officially, the ministry has 60 to 90 days to approve the application, but you probably know, if you've been living here for some time, you probably know that it doesn't really work like that with the ministry. So they can take even longer and way longer. But as long as you submit the application in time, you should be all right, and they should make the decision. So hopefully this was good. If not, either send us another question or feel free to get in touch even after this presentation and the question and answers now, because we'll be also sitting at one of the tables, so you can, like the virtual tables here, so you can come join us there, and we can have one-to-one conversation, and we can discuss your questions in details. Okay, thanks a lot. I can be able to apply for Job 6 visa in January 2021. So from we are going through Praca. Well, we would need to discuss this in like details. In general, you only have free access to the labor market in some cases. So it only applies for some jobs, and it only applies to some situations. So for example, if you finish a Czech university and you get a Czech diploma, then you have a free entry to the labor market, and then you don't need to do, or your employer doesn't need to do the job advertisement. But we would need to like exactly see your case to be able to tell you like for sure about your case. In general, only in some cases you can have access to the labor market, and you don't need the vacancy number.
Yeah, I have another question for Sertan. Let me just give us a second to read it.
Or you can leave it maybe on.
I'm an employee card using a sponsor company, but I'm looking for a better job opportunity. My employer is okay with me changing my job. How long it takes to complete formalities for a job change? A second question, do you provide recruitment services? Help us find a suitable job. We don't really provide recruitment services, but if you contact, take a look at the Jobspin.cz, the organization of the entire thing, you will see so many amazing job opportunities for foreigners, especially if you already have a working permit and you can change the employer. So take a look there. We don't really provide recruitment services, but as to your questions, how long it takes?
Yeah, basically there are a couple rules about that. The first and most important rule is that if you want to change your employer, two rules actually, you can only do it after 6 months of being here. So if you came here, say last month, you cannot change the job until you reach at least 6 months of being here under the employee card. As first rule, there are some exceptions, but only in some cases, like in case you cannot do the job because of some health issues and stuff like that. But in general, you cannot change your job unless you've been here for at least 6 months. Another thing is that you cannot change the job if your future employer should be an employment agency, and then they would deploy you to some other employer, because that happens often, that people come under some agency and then the agency deploys them to different employers, which is fine, but you cannot change your employer to an employment agency. So those are two main rules. Then the thing is the same basically as what we were explaining before, that your future employer must advertise the position with the labor office. It needs to be there for 10 to 30 days. And only after you get the vacancy number, you can apply for the change of position or change of employer. Even if you want to change position under the same employer, you need to go through the same process. Then, if you have the number, you need to submit all documents required for the change of employer to the ministry at least 30 days in advance. That means that if you, for example, want to start your new job on the 1st of December, the latest when you need to submit your application to the ministry is, let's say, 1st of November. It must be minimum 30 days in advance. If you submit it like 29 days in advance, they will disregard the application. They will act like they never received anything, because that's just the rules. So be careful about that. So in total, if everything goes smoothly and everything is fine, in total, the whole process of changing your employer or changing your position under the same employer can be the duration of getting the vacancy number. So that can be between 10 to 30 days, plus some time to prepare it if the employer doesn't have it, plus 30 days for which you need to inform the ministry in advance about the change. So let's say 2 months in total. It can take a bit longer. Usually the ministry approves this pretty fast because actually it's not an approval process as it used to be in the past. Now the ministry is not approving the change of employer. You can change your employer, but you need to submit all the required documents. So you need to be really careful about this, because if you don't submit all the documents, you have no chance to repair it, because it's not approval process and the ministry is not approving anything. They will just let you know if you submitted everything or not. If you did, you can change your employer. If you did not, you cannot. And there is another rule which I realized now, or remembered, that you only have 60 days. Once you leave your old job, you only have 60 days to find a new job and send this information to the ministry. So be careful if you're changing your job. First, arrange everything with the new employer. So confirm with them that they really want you, that they will give you all the documents you need. Make sure that they have the job advertisement done, and then start the process of changing the employer, so you don't get into unnecessary trouble.
Okay, yeah, I think we're ready. Our time is running out, but we have 2 questions and answers. Hello guys, I lost my job because of COVID and the 60 days already passed. Do I still have a chance to apply for a change of employer? I still have around 5 months on my long-term residency card.
Well, officially you don't, because if you only have 60 days to report the change of employer. So it doesn't matter if it was because of COVID or if it was other reason, you only have 60 days. So officially the ministry should like cancel your employee card. It sometimes takes them a long time to even realize that you no longer have a job. So it can happen that you still have the employee card valid and that they will not even let you know before it expires. But then if you want to extend it, very likely there will be some problems with that. You can still like try. You can find, if you now find your new employer swiftly and if they have the vacancy number and everything, you can try to submit it to the ministry and maybe write some explanation letter. Either don't write anything and let them figure out everything, or write some explanation letter saying, hey guys, this is the situation and I lost my job because of COVID, and somehow explain it. And it's possible that the person who will be making the decision, that they will take it into consideration and that they will like approve it. But officially, you only have 60 days. So if you haven't submitted the change of employer within the 60 days, officially the ministry should cancel the employee card. They will give you 60 days to leave, and they will give you something called a leave-in order. And you will need to leave the Czech Republic, but then you can, if you, for example, find a new employer already, then you can apply for new employee card through a Czech embassy again, and then we would be getting back to the presentation we had. If your embassy accepts employee card applications or not yet. So definitely you can try, but you need to find a new job as soon as possible.
Okay.
And
the last question, if anyone outside from Europe can come to Prague. This refers to the last few slides of our presentations. Who can come, who cannot come. I don't know if you had a chance to see it or not. You can go to the mzv.cz and you can see who can enter, who cannot enter. You can go to the website of Ministry of Interior, which is mvcr.cz, and find it there. You can go to coronavirus section and you will find who can enter or not. If you can, provide us with more information on where you want to come from which country. It will depend if the country you want to come from, if it's on a green list or red list, if you have residency in another country rather than yours, how much time you spend in the other country. For example, if you had, let's say you're from a country from the red list, which is, for example, Russia. So you cannot come from Russia for under any circumstances unless you have residency in either in Czech Republic or in a country of European Union who is on the green list, and you haven't spent more than 12 hours in the last 14 days in Russia, then you can enter. It's like it's simple. It's very simple. You just have to. So it's very important. Like if you can tell us maybe in details exactly where you want to enter from, which residency do you have, which citizenship you have, where you're right now, then yes. Unfortunately, for example, we had a case when we have U.S. citizens and they were living in the green country list, but they didn't have any proof of residency there. They were just living there for the past 3 months, let's say, and they unfortunately couldn't enter because it wasn't an official residency. they will just stay there. So you have to prove an official residency in case you're from the red country to show that you're living somewhere on the green list zone, and then yes, you can enter. Very easy. Very
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the traveling rules are very easy to understand now.
All right, great. Thank you very much to Jan and Daria from Move to Prague for your very insightful information. They will also have a panel where you can join them. You can discuss these matters in a little bit more detail with a conversation with them. We would like to thank them for their presentation and for their time. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move forward with our next presenter. Is going to be Sam from Grafton Recruitment, and he's going to talk about how to create the perfect CV. So let's welcome Sam.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I hope people can hear me okay. Apologies for the perhaps slightly late arrival and disheveled appearance. We were having some technical problems up in the Grafton offices with regards to the webcam and microphone that we use. So I've had to sort of run very quickly home and set it up here as a bit ad hoc. I'm assuming going down the general chat that people can hear me fine. If not, please say now, because I'm about to go on shared screen with the presentation, and I can't see everyone in front of me when I do that. I'll also set a timer so I don't speak for hours and hours. But let me just share the screen now, and if I can do that, that would be very, very helpful. If not, we're going to have some problems here. But what really we're going to talk about today is the writing a CV, and also to talk a little bit about the online interviews at times of coronavirus, times of more online interviews happening. And some of the considerations that job seekers should have when they're preparing and setting up for that. So very quickly, what we are, I'm going to go a bit about our own company, Grafton Recruitment, who have been around since the 1980s. We started off in Ireland, and from the mid-1990s, we moved to also deal with the Central European market. So we've been about in the Czech Republic since the mid-1990s, and we also exist in neighbouring Slovakia, Poland and Hungary. And since 2018, we've been part of the GI group of companies, which is one of the largest recruitment services providers in the world. So what we specialize in is business services, so that's office-based positions, finance and accounting, various IT, sales and marketing roles, but we also deal with pharmaceuticals, engineering and some other areas as well. And as you can see from the map, we exist in most of the major towns and cities in the Czech Republic. Just a little bit more about the business services branch, which I'm a part of, and we are the ones who will deal with a lot of these customer service, office admin positions that you'll often see advertised on Grafton.cz, Jobs.cz, and of course Jobspin. And although our remarks today are going to be focusing a bit more on business services, they'll also apply to other fields as well. For example, engineering, more IT-oriented roles. So what do we offer as recruiters, and how can we help you on your job search? Obviously, we have a lot of connections with a lot of the major service centres, international companies and local companies in the Czech Republic and here in South Moravia. And we're able to introduce your profile to many different companies, find the right jobs for you, and also our relationship with these clients, which has often been around for many years, should be able to give you the step up in being able to secure an interview and then, of course, to secure employment. We have the advantage of working with candidates both in the short term and long term. It's not always just for one job that we're working with you for. You could be working for a number of years, come back to us, and we'll happily help you find the next step in your career. And what's most important is that our services are free. Like most good recruitment agencies, we don't charge any fees from candidates, and none of us are taking a cut of your salary. So nothing that we do will, of course, put you out of pocket. So to get into the main part of the presentation, recruitment tends to start well before a company even sees your profile. Recruiters are often active on social media, and companies have been known to run background checks on prospective candidates. So that's something to keep in mind. And first impressions are going to be very important for that. It's often worth having a good social media presence. LinkedIn in particular is something that recruiters and internal HRs look to for making initial approaches to candidates. It's not a case anymore that a candidate sends in a CV to a company. It's also the other way around. We're actively looking for suitable candidates to fill roles. So it really is a two-way process. And if you have a good social media presence, have a good biography, clean work history, and that can really do wonders for getting to the next step of an application or getting the attention of various recruiters. It's also worth thinking in general terms about what employers are looking for. So on top of a job description or a job remit in an advert, they're looking for other things as well. Everything from hard skills, perhaps various IT knowledge, coding, to soft skills, which are incredibly important. Communication, organization skills are really crucial for a lot of positions, as are languages. Of course, you're not going to get hired for a German language position if you don't speak German, of course. And motivations and personality are something that can be neglected in this. Good motivations are strong desires for wanting to join a company, believing that you're going to add value to a company, and also simply enjoy the work. You think it's something that you're going to be good at. This is what lots of recruiters and employers are looking for. They want good motivations, and they want somebody who is going to be a really good fit for an organization, and that's where personality comes into it. So don't always be afraid to come out of your shell a little bit. Team dynamics are incredibly important. This is actually an example going back earlier about how the recruitment process starts a little bit earlier. This is an example of a bio that you might see on LinkedIn. Obviously, this is something that is not particularly appropriate and is not really going to attract the right attention from prospective employers. So always think about how you're seen, and then also how you're going to present your skills and abilities in a CV format when you're applying for positions as well. Although online presence is important, I think that the CV is still king when it comes to finding a job. The first thing to remember when you're considering CVs is that a lot of company HR and recruiters receive dozens of CVs a day. It's been widely reported that on average a recruiter spends approximately 7 seconds looking over a CV initially. So it's that 7-second window that really makes all the difference here. So your CV needs to be, to an extent, straight to the point, clear, detailed, accurate, and highlights your experience, your education, and what you can bring to a company. Remember that a CV is not a story of your life, but a story of your professional life. And it is very important to consider the idea of having a right and a wrong CV. I've had, for example, 10-page academic CVs for customer service roles where a lot of the content is entirely irrelevant to the job at hand or what the employer is actually looking for. So again, if we consider the 7-second rule, If you're applying for something like a customer service position or a level 1 help desk role, you should really not be submitting a document that's going to be longer than perhaps 3 pages. A lot of recruiters actually say that 2 pages should be sufficient, and that's going to really help you stand out as well. It's going to be short, it's going to be to the point, it's going to be detailed and accurate. If you are applying for a senior role, on the other hand, perhaps in management, your CV is going to be a bit longer, and it's then going to discuss your track record in senior roles a lot further. Related to that point is also tailoring your CV to the role that you're applying for. Again, first impressions are everything. So I always recommend having a personal statement at the top of your CV, perhaps 2 or 3 sentences, setting out your profile. Like, I don't know, like an experienced customer service professional with 3 years of shared service center experience, open to new customer service opportunities where I can utilize my organizational skills. Something like that, short and clear and to the point. Again, first impressions are everything. So an IT services recruiter does not want a CV where you have a personal statement with your passion for engineering. That already shows that you're not a good company fit and that you're likely to jump ship to an engineering job as soon as you have the opportunity. So already within that 7 seconds, you've diminished your employability within that specific company. Photos. There's a bit of a debate whether or not that you need to include a photo in a CV. I'm of the opinion that that's not really necessary, but sometimes it can add a nice touch to a personal profile and a professional profile. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the example on the right here for an acceptable photo for a CV. Something that you've taken on your holiday or something in a pub is not really going to be the right thing. So again, good business dress, looking like the sharp professional candidate that you are, and that's going to really help you stand out again within those 7 seconds. Work experience is perhaps going to be the most important thing on your CV. Of course, not to worry if you're a fresh graduate. There are, plenty of opportunities out there, and what might be helpful for you is if you don't have as much work experience or some part-time jobs, to perhaps put those below your education on your CV. Here are a couple of examples of what I think good work experience looks like on a CV. It's clearly showing the place of employment, it's showing your position, and also the months and years that you worked there for. Actually, the top one is from an older CV of mine when I was working part-time as a student. And what you should do is have a couple of lines, or as the data entry specialist role below shows, bullet points highlighting what you were specifically doing there. Not everybody knows, especially in some specialist jobs, what the actual duties are. It really helps concretize things for the employer to see where your experience lies, and also what skills that you gained while you were working there. So as you can see from the top example, problem solving, working as part of a team, these are all the soft skills that any employer is really looking for. Languages is an interesting one, and especially as we are increasingly part of an international community here in Brno, we have people from all over the world and companies from all over the world looking to hire. It's incredibly helpful to use the European framework when you're looking at your language abilities, from a basic user up to proficient user. And it's going to be the top example here, English, B1, B2, Polish native. There's going to be a lot helpful than the bottom example of a B4, which doesn't exist. Some people are hesitant to try and categorize themselves into the framework. I still think that it's the best way to do it. It tells us immediately what sort of level you believe yourself to be. And in a lot of these business services positions, you're going to have a language check anyway, so that'll be able to concretize things. You have, for example, done an English course and are B1 level, but now believe that you're level is up to C1 after several years, just put C1. You don't need to cross-reference this with any previous certification, and it really does help us to know what languages you speak and to what level. Finally, on that note as well, let's say, for instance, A1 Czech or A2 Spanish is not really going to be so relevant on your CV. It's not going to be languages that you're going to be able to use in any business service capacity. Maybe you can order some tapas abroad or a beer in a pub, but that's not really what we're going to be looking for in a CV. So please, I think it's very worthwhile if you put the languages on your CV that you're proficient to speak in a business sense. A quick word on skills. Obviously, something like this here is going to be acceptable for a call center or a more junior role. If you're going for an IT position, these sorts of skills need developed. So state your level of expertise rather than just listing off everything. Proficient user of JavaScript, basic user of HTML, and so on. Often a nice touch to put your interests into a CV as well, just a couple of lines at the bottom. And again, it's going to be the bottom example. It's going to be the one that's good for you. Again, be sensible with it. If your interests involve going to the pub 5 nights a week, I wouldn't put it on your CV. If you enjoy playing and following football, that's fine. Again, personality, going back to what employers are looking for, gives you a little bit of an insight into who you are and if you're going to be a fit for the company. Very quickly as well, I'm aware that we probably have people watching this who are here on student or long-term residency visas. If your immigration status is unclear, it can be quite a good idea to put that on your CV as well. So I've seen a lot of CVs for dual citizens, so candidates who might have citizenship of an EU and a non-EU country be rejected because it's not really been clear to the firm that they actually have full working eligibility here. So it's quite a good idea, if you think that that's unclear, to show that you have the ability to access the labour market fully on your CV if you do. And just, I guess, very finally, on the point of your CV and submitting it, perhaps, it's definitely worth being careful with who you submit it to as well. We're very lucky in Brno in the Czech Republic to have a lot of well-known and reputable companies in business services and recruitment. And increasingly, as more and more things go online, social media, particularly Facebook, is a big market now for recruiters and job offers to be posted on. Not all of these jobs are legitimate. And as always, if a job offer looks too good to be true, it probably is. Again, going back to what we said about Grafton, and this is true for other agencies, we do not charge candidates for our services. So one telltale sign of illegitimate job offers online is if the so-called recruiter asks you for money up front. Don't do it and move on. Now, online interviews are probably going to be here to stay, I would say. Right now, I think the majority of the business services that we're working with are now moving to online interview, and that was the case even before the coronavirus pandemic. It's also become a lot easier where we have high-speed internet at the touch of a button. So of course, safety always comes first. So we're not looking like we're going to go away from online interviews anytime soon. But generally speaking, in times where it's safe and secure to do so, it's quite nice to also go to face-to-face interviews, not because it's necessarily better in the eyes of an employer that you're physically there, but it tends to give you more of a company feel and a good idea of your own surroundings. And it leads you to make an informed decision about whether or not this company is right for you. So when it comes to online interviews, perhaps the most obvious point is going to be hardware and connection. And this might very much be a do as I say, not as I do approach, as we had to set this up very quickly in my flat, and we've tried our best, but I don't know if it's necessarily good enough. The hardware and software is going to be an important consideration. So this normally isn't a problem, as a majority of laptops now have built-in webcams and microphones, as you can see, but it's not necessarily a bad thing if you don't have access to that. Most people have access to smartphones these days, and it's perfectly fine to do an interview on a smartphone if you need to. Keep in mind, if you are using a mobile phone, there is nothing worse than the constant shaking and movement of a mobile phone if you are holding it like this and trying to do an interview. So one thing that I would definitely recommend is finding a stable place to hold the camera, so there is no loss of focus, there's no chances of motion sickness and so on. Have your webcam, of course, at eye level. Eye level is far more engaging, and it's a lot better a look rather than constantly going down or going up while you're on a call. Helps you with keeping eye contact, which has always been a very important thing for interviews. An ideal place for setting up an interview is also going to be in an office, if you have a home office in the place that you live, living room, or of course dining area. So if you are a student or in a shared space, a bedroom is often all you can manage, and that's still perfectly fine as long as it's kept in a neat and tidy condition. I have had the pleasure of seeing a couple of candidates in an online interview which had bedroom areas which were, let's say, less than desirable for giving off a good impression. So always make your bed, as silly as that sounds. Again, interviews are all about first impressions. So the goal is to present yourself as a thoughtful, intelligent candidate that's going to be able to add value to an organization. If you are in a neat and tidy area and it's set up well, that says a lot about your organizational skills, and also that you're a considerate person. And that can really help out quite a lot. There's no point of a webcam interview without actually being visible on the webcam either. So try your best, or as best as you can, to make sure that the living area is light, bright, and you're able to be fully seen while doing this. Like the topic of dressing, or dress for an interview, has also been done to death, and you can go online and there's a large amount of different advice that you can get about what's the best way to look good for an interview. An online interview is still an interview, so if you're not comfortable with turning up to an interview in your pajamas, I probably wouldn't do that in front of the webcam either. I think that the suit and tie approach, unless you are going for more senior positions, is a little bit overkill, but it's not going to necessarily count against you. So if in doubt, feel free to throw that suit on. Otherwise, something like a shirt, a button-up, office attire for women is perfectly fine. And yeah, try your best to be, the same as you would a face-to-face interview, engaging, presentable, and professional. A lot of these interview considerations still do apply. So body language has always been important in an online interview. I don't know if I'm showing the best body language here, sort of hunched up on my sofa, but making good eye contact and sitting up straight should be quite obvious. Positioning of your webcam, again, really does help here. What I've been able to attempt to try and get a bit more eye level is actually I've put this laptop on a couple of books. Just try anything you can to sort of make it set up so you have the ideal frame, and then it also shows that your eye contact is good, you're engaged, you're listening, and you're ready to react to any questions that are asked of you. Relaxation is definitely the most important thing, I would say. If you are not relaxed, you tend to either hurry answers because you're nervous, your body language looks particularly bad, and then also you tend to make mistakes. You maybe start rambling, and that's not conducive to a very good interview. There tends to be two groups of nerves. Either people sort of shut up and don't offer much in the sense of answers. Short one-word answers is not what an employer is looking for, but neither is the candidate going on for 10 minutes over a simple question. So try to relax as much as possible, and then everything else should really come naturally. We're now in more of a candidate-oriented market for sure, which means that, like we said, it's a two-way process. It's not just about candidates reaching out to recruiters and employers for a job, but also the other way around. But even for both situations, when you come to an interview, doing your research is particularly important. If a candidate has a good understanding of the company ethos, the company's aims, and what may be also being communicated to them by a recruiter, it's going to really help you, and you're going to be a lot more successful in attaining that job. Another good thing about recruitment agencies is we're more than happy to help prep you for interviews as well. So we're there to help find the job for you and then get you ready to be the best that you can be. Again, if we go back to what we said a few slides ago about what an employer is looking for: hard skills, soft skills, experience, motivations, personality. That's going to be, something to always keep in the back of your mind. They're going to look to ask questions about hard skills, your track record, and don't worry too much again if you're a graduate. A lot of the questions that you're asked can also fit into a lot of the skills that you learn during your university degrees. If you're older or to the job market, or even newer, it's still going to be the same thing, really. So if you always have in the back of your mind what a recruitment consultant is looking for and what an employer is looking for, that's going to really help you. Finally, don't be afraid to ask questions. These should generally be at the end of the interview, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we have any questions once I close the shared screen. But they are very important. Questions, go further into your specific job details, asking about management styles, what sort of team dynamic, show your interest and engagement. Maybe a lot more than asking questions about, let's say, benefits and salary. I think a lot of employers think it's quite bad if your first question, for example, is going to be more about the salary or trying to negotiate a salary. Show that you're a desirable hire, and that's going to be a lot better for negotiations on salary anyway. But they are not wanting someone there who is just there for the money. They're wanting someone there who's going to enjoy it, who's going to bring value to their organization, and also enrich the the colleagues that are around them. So a lot of the positions in business services are heavily team-based, so that's going to be something that's crucial. It's having that good team dynamic and good team fit. I feel I've had to race through quite a lot of this just in case, and I always write a bit too much than time allows, but that's pretty much going to be the end of this part of the presentation. So looking forward to seeing if you have any questions in the chat, and also looking forward to dealing with some of the people who have signed up to do our CV checking after this presentation is over. So thank you, everybody, and I'll go close the screen and see if we have any questions to answer. Okay, so I see that we have one question. You still have time to put your questions into the chat in the Q&A section. We have a question that's asking if you send your CV as a Microsoft document, like a docx or a doc file, it is fine, or if it's better as a PDF. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I know that there are some employers and some hirers that take a different view on that, and if they do have an issue, it's usually going to be in your in the job advert or in the online portal for applications. It'll tell you that they need to be in docx or in PDF. I don't think it particularly matters. What matters is going to be that it's clearly set out and it highlights your skills. I've never really heard of anyone having a bad time with having it in the wrong document format. As an aside, if you are a bit worried about the layout of your CV, there are plenty of resources that are available online. The classic one, I guess, is Europass, which is the European Union's portal, which has a very good template for setting out a CV. It's very well structured. You also have other ones available, I think, through Monster as well. They have quite a few templates that aren't just for customer service, but also for academic candidates who are going to be looking for university jobs or postdoctorates, things like that. So it's not going to be, you're not going to go wrong with any of those formats. Do you recommend adding a picture to the CV in the Czech Republic? Again, I don't think it necessarily matters. I know in a lot of countries, including the United Kingdom, it's not a good idea to put a CV photo on because there is, I believe, legal procedures about that and bias against candidates based on things like gender, sex, ethnicity, and so on. And that can really, unfortunately, positively or negatively impact recruitment. I would say if you want to add a picture to the CV in the Czech Republic, there's nothing legally that's preventing you from doing that. It can be quite nice if you have a good professional profile, shirt and tie. It's not going to really hurt you. What's going to hurt you more than not having a photograph is a bad photograph. And I've seen quite a few bad photographs already at my time at Grafton. Finally, I think we've got a minute or so to go, so we can take this maybe as the last question, which is how's the job market going for foreign students, as it's difficult to find a job. I guess I share that frustration at times, especially at a time where we've had lockdowns. We've had a lot of companies who have not been able to hire as much as they would like, or they've had to move a lot of things online, and it has negatively impacted the job market. Students is always an interesting one because a lot of agencies don't offer part-time roles, and you really need part-time roles at times to balance your studies and things like that. Generally, a lot of these positions, part-time ones, are going to be in Czech language, and again, that's another impasse. I would recommend that to apply for a lot of companies directly. A lot of companies who are looking for part-time roles usually do it through their own web presence or their own HR rather than using an agency. Agencies tend to be for more long-term or full-time roles. And again, it's also going to unfortunately be a question of immigration at times too. The problems usually come from the Ministry of Interior and national embassies for other countries. For example, if you're an Indian citizen, there was for quite some time, I believe, a lack of slots available at the Czech embassy in New Delhi. So if it does take like 6 or 7 months to get an employee card arranged, a lot of the jobs like customer care roles, like level 1 support, they're not going to be able to wait that long for a hire to be made. It's an unfortunate situation. It's been that situation for quite some time, but I would say not to give up hope either. Like if you are a student, for example, if you have a degree from a Czech university, that makes access to the labour market a lot easier. A lot of companies still will consider employee card candidates for roles, particularly if they're based currently in the Czech Republic. And this situation that we have, maybe with the market being negatively affected by Corona, is not going to last forever. I see another question in there that I'm not too sure about answering because I don't know your specific situation. Feel free to send me a chat message, and I can maybe look into something. But again, a lot of what I say applies still. There were a lot more jobs for English-only speakers. Even a year or two ago, recruitment is often moving to English plus now. So there's going to be a lot more focus on English plus German, English plus Czech, of course, plus French, some of the Scandinavian languages too. But a lot of English language positions, again, are ones that are internal. They tend to be the easier ones to hire because most people these days speak quite a high level of English. So they don't always come through recruitment agencies as much as they would through employers directly. I often think it's a good idea. And when I myself was looking for a job a few years ago, I approached companies directly in addition to using recruitment agency services, because a lot of the companies will hire for roles through their website and hire through agencies for other roles as well. It's worth taking the time to do some research, and even requesting them to keep your documents on file once you've gone past the GDPR stage. The online presence, again, is very important there. Companies do look through previous applicants when they're trying to fill a role, and they also do look online to LinkedIn and so on. I'm not sure how to send this. I believe you can probably click on my profile and send me a message. But I think that's probably all the time we have for questions. I know that there's not much more time available. And we're moving on to the next presenters. So feel free to message me when you can, and I'll be hanging around for the next hour or so doing CV checks as well. But thanks again, everyone.
All right, let's a big thank you to Sam for his presentation. He will also do some CV consulting until 4:30. People who have already registered for this, they can join him in one-on-one consultations in our second event. For now, I would like to introduce everybody Miss Blanca Rashkova. She will have a presentation right now. So let's say hello to Blanca. Hi, Blanca.
Hi, everyone.
And thank you very much, Sam, for your presentation and for your time.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Bye-bye. So yeah, Blanca, you can start with your presentation whenever you're ready.
Perfect, Anthony. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. And I hope you hear me and see me well. You can maybe write me to the chat if everything is fine for you. I will just give you a few seconds to prepare for the next session of today. So, perfect. Thank you, Anthony. So let's start with another session. Hi again and welcome. Right now we are sort of switch from your CVs and from the job market to the area of your head, of your brain. And the topic of the presentation right now is how to stop self-sabotaging your success immediately. Let me make a short trip to your brain. You see some quotes, and my question is whether they are familiar to you. I bet you hear sometimes in your head the voice saying, you are not good enough. You are not worth it. What's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with you? I hate mistakes. I have to work harder, or I must be best at what I do. And the most significant lie, I'll be happy when. I bet you hear them sometimes, or maybe you hear them on a daily basis. And it's the same for me, I must admit. And before introduce you to these voices, I have a great news for you right at the beginning. This voice is not yours. This is not your voice. This is the voice of your internal judge and of his friends, saboteurs, who are trying to reveal the negative emotions in yourself. But right before introducing this bunch of bastards to you, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Blanka Mrazkova, and I'm a professional coach and recruitment leader. I'm a proud member of the coaching agency and academy Život jako hra, which we translate as life is game. Few more things about me. I'm a flat white addict. I don't have my coffee with me, but I hope I will survive till the end of the session. And I'm a salsa dance lover. And I must admit that formerly I was controlled by the saboteurs without even noticing it, just as you are maybe right at the moment. So today I will give you a more detailed information, a sort of little training on positive intelligence, on how to make your brain really work for you. It is based on a great book, Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Shamin. And when I discovered this, it literally changed my life that much that I decided to work on this topic with my clients as well, to bring them to their true potential and to bring them to both performance and happiness in their lives. As we all can agree, we can divide the emotions into negative and positive. And the thing is that all the negative emotions come from our saboteurs. And they are trying to push us towards the results, towards the performance, through the negative emotions such as fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, or insecurity. Whereas the sage who lives in the other part of our brain, who represents the internal wisdom of us, motivates us through positive emotions such as empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, or purpose. And I think we all can agree that we want to go the way of the sage, right? That we don't want to be self-sabotaged, that we don't want to be pushed by negative emotions, and that we are keen to or willing to go through the sage way, through the positive emotions, and take us to the performance, our potential, and happiness. But how to do so? It is not that easy, because we have to follow few steps. And today I'm going to show you 3 simple life hacks that will help you to weaken your saboteurs, to strengthen the positive intelligence, which means the part of your brain where your sage and your positive emotions come from. And I will show you how to shift from saboteurs to sage activation. This is all we can do today, and I hope you will enjoy it. So, first of all, if you want to beat an enemy, you have to know who he is. So let me introduce you the saboteurs. Maybe you may ask, what the hell are the saboteurs doing in my head? Where they come from? And the fact is that the saboteurs are the survival strategies that we all developed in our childhood to gain the acceptance, to gain independence, or maybe safety. You can imagine them like a plaster you got when you broke your leg when you were a kid. And the plaster then helped you and protected your broken leg, right? But your leg healed, and there is no need to wear a plaster on it for years or for decades. And the saboteurs and the negative emotions are just like this plaster. Just if you imagine that you are still carrying it in your adulthood, and it seems pretty useless, isn't it? And the fact is that this plaster, these saboteurs from childhood, are not useful for us anymore. Their power is to limit our potential and to limit our way to succeed, to perform better, to live happier. And the tricky part is that all the saboteurs could lead us to great achievements, but they are not leading us to success and happiness. They can help us to succeed, to perform, but imagine the situation when you think to yourself, oh, I will be happy when? I will be happy when I get a new job. I will be happy when I lose some weight. I will be happy when I find a new girlfriend or boyfriend. I will be happy when I buy a new car, the same as my neighbor does. Or even better, right? And this is not happiness. The saboteurs are not letting us to celebrate the success and to enjoy it, really. So let me introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, the master saboteur, the judge. And the judge is that voice in your head who is judging you constantly. And he's not judging you only. He may judge the others. He may judge the circumstances, all the situations you are going through. The thoughts he has is, what's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with you? Or what's wrong with the situation? And let me go even deeper. Why the judge is so dangerous for us? Because he's a great spy. And you know, the great spy, what he does? He just pretends he's the best friend of yours. And his lies are, I'm good for you. All the negative emotions are good for you. What would you do without me? Without me pushing you, you would be lazy. Without me saying you or punishing you for your mistakes, you would repeat them again and again. The stress gives you the right performance edge. And the negative emotions are good. What is even worse with this master saboteur? Could it be even worse? Yes, it is. Because he is surrounded by a bunch of bastards called his friends, his 9 accomplice saboteurs. And maybe you didn't know it. And I pretty bet you didn't. But most of us have 2 or 3 major saboteurs, plus the judge, their boss. And whenever the judge appears, whenever you feel the negative emotions, the judge comes to activate one of his fellows. And let me introduce you to this bunch of 9 bastards right now, so that you can maybe recognize some of them coming from your head. So this is the 9 saboteurs. We have the controller, who is trying to be in charge all of the time, who says, I have to be in control. I have to know what is going on. Nobody knows better than me. Then there is the hyperachiever, who is telling you, yes, take the project. You are not overwhelmed. You can do it. It is a great opportunity, right? It doesn't matter that you'll be stressed and you won't sleep for the next 2 months. Then there is the restless, who is making you feel busy all the time, who is pushing you to do many activities on the same time, and who makes you feel that only if your life is filled with activities, it is happy or full. Then maybe you recognize your stickler. The stickler is the perfectionist in you. And I'm pretty sure you, or most of you, know him well. He's good enough, right? You should do better. No, you cannot release the project because this is not perfect. And he prevents you from the positive actions, actually. He keeps you focused on tiny details and not on the bigger things, on the bigger achievements. Then we have the pleaser. And the pleaser says, I'm giving you all my heart. I'm ready to help you. But he tries to get you from your own needs towards the needs of others. And he limits you or prevents you from saying no. If I say no, they won't like me. And this is what he says. Then we have hypervigilant. He's the one who's biting his nails. He's all nervous all the time. And he cannot stop imagining the worst situation that can ever happen to you. And then avoider, my favorite one. This is the one who leads you to procrastination, because everything is more pleasant than doing this project, right? Than doing this job, this work. And the victim. Nobody understands me. I'm so poor, poor me. They don't like me. And all the world is against me right now. And the final one, the hyper-rational. The one who thinks that all the emotions are irrelevant, and who is really upset with the emotions of others and of yourself as well. So we have right now discovered the master judge and all his friends. You can recognize yourself in some of the descriptions, maybe just 2 or 3. If you want to, you can take a short test that will show you who are your major saboteurs, and I will give you the link right at the end of this session. And what to do with them when you are overwhelmed by negative emotions. You may ask, are the negative emotions really good for me? And let me ask one more question. Is the pain good for you? Imagine you put your hand on a hot stove and you feel the pain immediately, right? And I'm pretty sure you put your hand out of the stove, because if you didn't, you would injure yourself quite seriously. And the pain serves you as an alert, as a signal that something is wrong. And it's a signal to take the action. And it is pretty much the same with the negative emotions. They are only helpful for 1 second as an alert signal. But staying in negative emotions really limits you from taking focused action, from using your empathy, your curiosity, your creativity. But negative emotions are good, right? It is okay to be angry. It is okay to feel the shame. It is okay to be stressed sometimes. But from now on, please use them as a signal that you should do something different. And the key to your performance and your happiness is the speed of recovery from negative emotions to positive ones. And let me show you how to deal with the saboteurs. Once you know them, you can recognize them. Because the saboteurs are, they are like vampires. They hate the light and they don't want to be seen. They want to stay hidden in your head or behind your back, and to like hustle to your ear all their lies. So first thing is notice them. Second thing is label them. How to do so? There is just a simple way to notice them and label them. Imagine that a thought comes to your mind. Like, I'm going to fail in this interview. And this is the thought that maybe that may come with some negative emotions, like stress or shame or self-doubt. And this is the thought of your judge. So imagine next time this sort of feeling comes, you will let it, or you will leave it to your judge and see the difference. I'm going to fail in this interview versus my judge says I'm going to fail in this interview. It is his responsibility, not yours, to have this thought, right? And once you notice them, once you label them, let their thoughts and feelings leave. Do not try to fight it. Do not try to get into discussion with your saboteurs. Just label them and let them go. To go even deeper, let's take a look at the part of brain where your sage, your wisdom lives. And let's have a look at the way how to strengthen your positive intelligence. Because the sage perspective is that every outcome, situation, experience can be turned into a gift and opportunity. And just as we have only 3 colors that are creating all the spectrum of colors, the sage has 5 superpowers that you all have inside of you, which is empathize, explore, innovate, navigate, and activate. There's a question. Is it really possible to just shift from saboteur to sage reaction? Even in really tough situation? And the answer is yes, but it takes mental muscle power. So let's switch to the third simple life hack. How to shift from saboteurs to sage activation. And right now, guys, I would like to invite you to our mental gym. So let's go to mental gym and imagine your brain is pretty much the same as a muscle, right? If you are going to a gym, you expect your muscles to grow, to strengthen. You are doing your push-ups, your burpees, your leg press, and your muscles strengthen. And this is pretty much the same with your brain, with the sage part of your brain. And it doesn't hurt. it doesn't hurt really, and it is really simple to do it. So we are going to train your mental muscle to stop your thoughts before they activate the saboteur, and to literally rewire your neural pathways towards the PQ brain. PQ stands for Positive Intelligence Quotient, which is the place where your sage and his power live. How to do so? It is as simple as 10-second exercise, which is called PQ reps. And right now I'm going to show you some of them so you can use them anytime, anywhere, with no equipment needed. And when you do so, you gain the self-command of your mind. So right now, if you can, just sit with your spine straight, with your legs on the floor, with your chest open. And if you feel safe and ready, just close your eyes. And we are going to a few PQ reps using your touch, your breath, and your sound and the sounds. First of all, just take a few deep breaths. Now, rub your 2 fingers of one hand, one against each other, with such a tension that you feel the ridges of your fingertips. Focus on them and breathe. Perfect. And right now, let's focus on your breath. Leave your eyes closed and notice the temperature of your breath, of the air entering your nostrils. And notice the slightly different temperature when the air exits your nostrils. Now place your hand to your stomach, still with your eyes closed, and notice how it raises and falls with each breath you're taking. And now, still with your eyes closed, focus on the sounds. Try to notice the furthest sound away you can hear. And now, hear the closest sound you can hear. And now, if you are ready, just gently come back and open your eyes. So I hope you will share with me right after the session, how was the exercise for you? How did you feel? What emotion came? And please remember that nobody's perfect. If your mind was wandering around, it is no problem. You are not failing the exercise. Just bring it back to you and keep going, right? Now let's have a quick look on what actually happened right now in our brain. Here is the picture from neuroscience of how we form the habits. You can see the event coming to your brain, and usually it will go the way the saboteur flash is, as we are used to communicate through the saboteurs mainly. It is our strong habit. And what we do with PQ reps, we pause the process And at this point, we are ready to choose the sage path, the sage way. And this is the neural pathway, the mental muscle we train with these PQ reps. Do it as much as you can. You don't need to, or you don't have to do them all in one. You can just choose one, the one you like the most, and use it anytime, before any phone call, before any meeting you may have. Just as much as you can. And remember to finish strong this session, that to weaken the saboteurs and to ensure the change that lasts. Remember to notice and label the saboteur and let its thoughts leave. To strengthen your sage brain, to think about the best option, about the curiosity, the creativity, the empathy that your sage has, and to choose his way intentionally. And just as we just experienced, train your mental muscle with those easy PQ reps as often as you can. And remember one more thing. Your saboteurs will really try hard to hijack your thoughts. They will really try to lie to you. They will say you, oh, that's stupid, you don't have time to do this. But I can assure you, you have the time. You have these 10 seconds, you have this minute to stop and strengthen your sage and your positive intelligence. So even though they serve their lives on a golden plate, now you know them and you don't let them win. And one last question for you, and you can share the answer maybe in the Q&A session right out afterwards. If you can change your brain and your life, what change would you do? Think about it. So, guys, thank you for being here with me, with my saboteurs, and with your saboteurs as well, and mainly with your sage. And I hope you got the best, you got the essential from the first step towards positive intelligence. Here are my resources. You can see the link to the web of positiveintelligence.com, where you can take the free assessment to see what are the major saboteurs of yours. And there are my contacts too. So please feel free to let me know anytime, and let's discuss it more. So right now the Q&As are ready. So if you have any, just let me know. Any question coming, please do not hesitate to write me